from Conrad Murray's defense. Donald, great to have you with us.
Hi, Ryan.
Now, Donald, let me first start with involuntary manslaughter here. Tell us what that means in California, just so we get this clear, because this is not an intent crime. It's not as if the allegation is that Dr. Murray intended to kill Michael Jackson, but rather it's what he consciously disregarded.
Yeah, it's a section of the penal code that holds people criminally liable for engaging in negligent type of conduct that a person should know would cause death, either legally or illegal type of conduct. In this case, the prosecution has its choice to go and say that what he was doing was either illegal and because of his illegal conduct that it caused the death, or that it was a legal act, but he should have known, and he was just disregarding safety. So it's really a small threshold for the prosecution to overcome.
Okay, and by the way, that's without conscious disregard is what that applies to. Now, let me ask you this. When we talk about his defense, one of the defenses that people think the defense will offer here is suicide, that Michael Jackson might have ingested the propofol himself. How do you see that playing out in this trial? How does the defense need to make that argument? Because at the same time, this was Michael Jackson's doctor. How did he get that propofol if he gave it to himself?
Right, and I think that the defense is already making statements that we know that they're going to say that while the doctor wasn't looking, Michael Jackson was swallowing medicine that was not prescribed to him, and that he basically was a drug addict and he was just gulping this stuff without the doctor's knowledge or consent. I think that they're also going to try to show that Michael was out of control, and I'll bet that they're going to try to bring in his past, his conduct or the accusations with respect to the molestation charges, to try to make the jury not like him and think that he was just a total mess and he was gulping down the medicine. But be that as it may, that's not going to excuse him administering drugs that he shouldn't have been administering, the amount of drugs or the way that it was used. I don't know how they overcome that.
Okay. Now, one thing that's key here is the prosecutors are going to want to push Conrad Murray's phone call. So important here because his phone call records show that he was dialing constantly the day that Michael Jackson died, especially in the hour before paramedics showed up. And those phone calls could say a lot about what happened in Jackson's room. I want to show you this. In Sessions, Christy Paul takes us through those phone calls.
During Conrad Murray's preliminary hearing last January, witnesses testified that Murray was on the phone for much of the 11 a.m. hour. Court documents reveal at 11:07 a.m., Murray makes a 1-minute call to his personal assistant. 11:18, Murray makes a 32-minute call to his Las Vegas office. 11:49, Murray makes a 3-minute call to one of his cardiology patients. 11:51, Murray makes a call of unspecified length to Sade Anding, a Houston cocktail waitress he was dating. Anding testified that she was on the phone with him when she realized he wasn't listening to her anymore. She said she heard a noise in the background and then a mumbling of voices, but Murray never responded to her after that point. 12:12, Murray makes a 1-minute call to Michael Jackson's personal assistant. Michael Amir Williams says Murray told him Jackson had a, quote, bad reaction, like something was going on, unquote. Williams subsequently called Alberto Alvarez, Jackson's bodyguard, and asked him to see what was going on. It was Alvarez who made the 911 call at 12:21 p.m.
Now, Donald, have to ask you, these phone calls critical for the prosecution because just looking at them, you get the sense that this is a doctor who's on the phone to patients, he's on the phone to lady friends. Meanwhile, Michael Jackson, he's giving him drugs, and Michael Jackson, they're trying to say, is a known addict. How does the defense plan to defend those claims?
I think that the defense is going to try to poke holes at the timeline, and hopefully the prosecution's not going to give them that rope to hang themselves with it. But, doesn't this evidence show that this doctor was doing everything he should not have been doing while treating a person with that type of medicine? I don't know about you, Ryan, but if I'm being administered these type of drugs, I want my doctor to be watching me every second, not making phone calls. It really shows that he was not attending to his patient. It also is very inconsistent with what he told the police right after they arrived as to what he was doing. It's completely inconsistent, and I think that's where the prosecution is going to get the most mileage out of this type of evidence.
Donald, another thing that's inconsistent is he talked about giving him one drug. When he talked to investigators, later changed his story. How rough will that be for the defense at trial?
It's horrible for the defense because this doctor's credibility is going to be everything. We got some idea that he may want to take the stand. If he gets up there, he's just going to be a duck in a barrel for the prosecution because of these inconsistent statements he made. I mean, he's a doctor. He's supposed to be truthful when people start inquiring as to what he did. He's got no reason to lie if he isn't guilty about this stuff.
All right, Donald, another point here that the defense has been alluding to for quite some time is the idea of we are dealing with the king of pop here. Michael Jackson was an icon, loved by millions of people all around the world, and now Dr. Murray is on trial for his death. Can he get a fair trial in California?
I think he can. It's just going to go to what jurors end up in this trial. If the prosecution's lucky and they do a good job, they're going to find people that may have been sympathetic or fans of Michael Jackson. And in that case, it's going to pollute the waters. But this is something that exists in every trial. I think it could be a fair trial, but the defense has to be very wary of the fact that this guy is as big as Elvis. I mean, people are forgetting about his problems. He's a huge figure, and they're going to be sympathetic towards him. And they're going to expect this doctor to have done everything right in treating this man.
Right, and when you look at what we know so far, it seems like there are a lot of holes, but that's why we have these trials. There's a lot that's going to come out during this trial. Donald, thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, Michael Jackson is arguably the